name, but I still don't see a video. Can you hear us, Carlie?
Hello.
There you are. Hey.
How are you? Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Perfect.
Okay, well, okay, ladies, we are live in the private Mama Bear group. So I don't know who all's on yet, but I see some people are jumping on and I'm really excited. Thank you all for doing this and for taking the time. It's really exciting to be here with you guys. I mean, you guys are celebrities, y'all are stars, and here you are taking time for the Mama Bears, and I'm so grateful. And I know the Mama Bears are going to be so grateful. I was wondering if we could just start off quickly with you guys introducing yourselves and just telling a little bit about yourself, whatever you want to say. I'm just going to go around my little square here. So I'm going to start with you, Ivana.
Oh, hi. My name is Ivana Black. I play Amanda in The Garden Left Behind. Model, act, and housewife.
I love it. And Kristen, I think I actually was on a phone call with you not long ago. Is that right?
Yes, we were.
Yes. Would you take a minute and introduce yourself to the Mama Bears?
Hi, everybody. My name is Kristen Lovell, and I'm an actress, producer, and soon-to-be director. And currently, I am sequestered in a basement from COVID. But I'm here, and I'm excited to have this conversation with all of you. I was really excited about, Mama Bears endorsing our film. And so here we are, and thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Kristen. And Carlie, it's so great to meet you today. I just have to say up front, I just love the part that you played. You just played it so well, so believable, and you really made us care about the character. Would you introduce yourself?
I think her camera froze.
Carlie, I think you might have froze.
Yeah, I think she did for a second.
Let me see if it comes back.
You did warn us.
I did warn you that sometimes that we do get some freezes going on here. Carlie may have to go out and come back in. Okay, well, we are going to give her a chance to do that. And I wanted to look at one other thing here real fast. We have some Mama Bears watching now, so that's good. They're excited too. Let's see, I wanted to look at one thing here.
Kristen, you okay? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, when you this was a nail problem.
Oh, no, when you were sitting there so still, I was like, did she freeze?
Sorry, y'all. I just want to give Carlie a chance to get back in here before we kind of move on too far.
Can
hey,
you guys
Carlie.
see me?
Yeah.
Yes, I see you. You froze up for just a minute. Can you go ahead and introduce
I'm sorry, I'm
yourself?
having the worst internet connection. Yes, I'm Carlie. I played Tina in The Garden Left Behind, and I'm very excited, and thank you for having us. This is wonderful.
Well, I'm excited that you're here too. We do sometimes have some challenges with technology, but we just do the best we can. And the Mama Bears are used to it, so they won't think anything bad about us. I hope that it's not too disruptive to you guys. There were two really good questions that got sent to me in advance, and I want to find those real fast as we get started. Let's see here. Okay, so one of the questions is, how did the journey of The Garden Left Behind begin? And how did you get involved with the film? And I'll just let each of you kind of go with that, but I'll start with you, Carlie, if you would start us out. How did the journey to the film begin? and how did you get involved with it?
Perfect. Well, my connection is so good. I originally had something that changed in career. So, in terms of being employed, and a friend of mine sent me the script and I just fell in love with the character Tina. I thought that this is someone I could relate, very akin to how I would view the world. And I decided that auditioning would be okay. And so I went and it worked out. So that's how I got involved.
Well, we're glad that you did. Let's see, Kristen, now you're also a co-producer and an actor in the film. So you may have a little more insight into how the idea first came to fruition.
Yeah, when Flavio, our director, he was doing his research into trans issues and stuff. And at the time I was working at a MCCNY charities shelter called Sylvia's Place. It was named after trans rights icon actress Rivera. And we used to have a lot of conversations which was about the misrepresentation of trans women in media, particularly trans women of color. And so we had a lot of conversations, and I auditioned, and he was like, well, I kind of want you to come on as one of my producers. And it was amazing. It was an amazing experience. I've learned so much, and here we are.
That's wonderful. And Ivana, how did you get connected with the film?
I had been acting before, and I had stopped once, like Kristen said, because there wasn't enough good representation for trans women, especially women of color. And a friend of mine remembered that and heard about the audition. And that's how I came to the audition. When I auditioned, I was just auditioning for a part. I knew that it was going to be trans, but what really excited me about The Garden Left Behind and Flavio is he sat down and asked us questions. He really wanted to know about our journeys and like what we go through. And he ended up incorporating that into the script. And so that's when I really got excited about the project. And I was like, please let me get the part. Because he was really advocating for getting the story right.
Well, I love that. And I think it's one of the only films I've ever seen that had every single trans person represented by a trans actor.
Mm-hmm.
And then I understand that you also had a lot of trans people behind the scenes.
Yes. Oh, yes. And Kristen will tell you, because even the songs in the movie were created by a trans.
Yes, it was very intentional to make sure that our film highlighted everybody in the community. So down to the soundtrack, behind the scenes, some people took on different roles and wore different hats, like, correcting the script. The protest scene was very intentional in terms of the people that were in the room. Everybody in the room was, in some aspects, an activist or in the arts. And we needed to highlight that. It was important to highlight all of our activists and artists and put them in this space. You know what I mean? Because, for impact in itself, like, we all do great things. So the story is about us as a community. So what better way to have real people within the community play those roles?
I love that. That's great. I understand that you guys have shown the film at a lot of festivals. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
And y'all been doing this kind of Q&A panel for a lot of those showings. I was just wondering, how was it received at the festivals? What was the experience you guys had? Carlie, are you still there?
She's frozen again.
She is.
I get to start then.
Okay, Ivana.
Yeah, for me, I did a lot of the traveling. Because I was able to do that, and I am humbled by that I'm able to travel And I felt, and Flavio felt, that it's very important for us to be represented at the film festivals. He actively wanted to have trans people there when we were at film festivals. So he made make sure that we all got there. As far as reactions, it triggers some people. And
Oh yeah.
and I have to understand that. And you have to take care. So sometimes for us, Christian could attest to this, it's healing moments on that panel, because now we have to talk to people and explain and try to help heal, give them a couple, 10, 15 minutes of like healing time and self-care and self-love and all the hugs and stuff we get afterwards, and people bringing their friends, their lovers, their children. A lot of cis people come and they have a bevy of questions, and the main question that I really love from everyone that I came in contact with was, how can we help?
Yeah. I bet you hear a lot of personal stories.
A lot. And you have to not take it personally, because you want to just scream, you want to cry, you want to hold, you want to take them home. You want to be a what? Mama bear.
Exactly.
You're like, come with
Exactly.
me, I want to save you. But you can't. And so this one young man in upstate New York, Christian wasn't there, Carlie, and he was Asian American, and he's with his parents, and he's a trans man, and he broke down and started crying, and all I could do was hug him, and his parents were like sitting there still, because they were still in shock at the movie, and he's crying. They walk out, and he comes back because he needs another hug. And it was just crazy. And his parents just like, oh my God, we're so glad we came. And that's what that's why the mama bear thing really touches me, because when you're doing this type of work, you feel protective of people. And I felt very protective of this film because I knew what it was going to do.
Yes. Yes, I have heard from some moms that have been watching the film over the weekend, and it is hard for some parents to watch. We do worry about our kids. We do want them to be safe. We want them to live in a world that's kind and loving and safe. And but there is this reality out there that we can't ignore. We need to talk about it, and we need to figure out ways that we can make a difference. Let me see here. I think we may have a question here. Tiffany says, I am a proud mama to a trans teen girl who came out in January. A lot of what I watched reminded me of my daughter, but there was also a lot of things that highlighted to me the privilege that she has. How can we as a white middle-class suburban family be the best allies to trans women of color that we can be? What a great question.
Wow. That is an amazing question.
Kristen, you do a lot of
yeah.
activism on this front. Do you have any recommendations?
I do. I think support and being there and being not just an ally, but a system of support, care, love, is so essential to the upbringing of trans people. It is the number one component that keeps us alive. When we know that we have the support of family and friends unconditionally, it makes us so much powerful and stronger and have the ability to stand in our truth. The minute that we are, ostracized and kicked out and left to rot on the streets is when we see the degrade, when people think because we want to transition and live in our truths, that is somehow a bad thing, and that our life is going to be hard and difficult, and the only thing that makes that difficult for us is society and how they treat us. We want to be just like everybody else. We want to go to work. We want to live. We want to have our people who love us, and that's it. It's such a simple thing to ask for. You know what I mean? And so it's so important to just have supportive people around you that believe in your visions and believe in you and stand by you regardless.
Yes. And I
Yes.
think I love that. And, I think that is why it's so important that we have so many families that support their LGBTQ kids, because I am a firm believer that how the family goes, that's how the world goes.
Exactly. And I think to your question, if you could, how could you use your privilege? I think just extend your circle. Let your daughter interact with Black and brown trans people, because there's a lot to be learned from that. There's a lot of resilience and strength and power in our skin color, because we have to overcome and so much, not just being trans. Because when I walk out the door, the first thing they do not see is trans. The first thing they see is Black. Then I become trans, and then I become a woman.
Mhm.
You see, so if this question, the person who had this question could extend their daughter's circle to include, maybe find some friends that are Spanish and Black, and show them the suburbs, meaning show them a life that they may not know, or hey, let's go out to lunch. I introduced my friends to sushi. Some of my Black and brown girlfriends, we went out for sushi. They're like, what the hell is sushi? I said, come on, girl, I'm gonna introduce you to
I love it.
Because that helps that individual grow, but it also helps your child grow. Because the one thing about privilege is not using your privilege to explore.
Yes.
To go
Like
and,
don't stay in your privilege bubble.
Yes. Go out. Like, I don't know what city this person lives in, but we have HOT New York City, which is like teen health outreach in New York City, but it's mostly Black and brown. Send your daughter there, because they deal with trans men, trans women, trans health, trans everything. Even if she comes in from the suburbs to go into the city to be with those Black and brown trans groups, that's how you can help. Because then as a woman, I get to have an experience that I may not have in the inner city. I may not have a home. I may be homeless, but here's this new friend I have who is white and privileged.
Exactly. I think inclusion, is so important. You know what I mean? Like, I live in a house with a plethora of different types of people: gay, trans, white, Black, Latina. You know what I mean? And just, meshing all of our cultures and experiences together, to me, it's the epitome of what this country is supposed to be about. You know what I mean? The whole American dream is that for us to be able to live in this country comfortably together, accepting each other and our cultures, you know what I mean? And living peacefully. I think, when we come up with all of these different things that are looked at as prejudices, it keeps us in this divisive moment that we're in now. We can't rise as a nation together of a people of a country that's supposed to be inclusive of everyone to share this American dream. You know what I mean? We have to. It's detrimental to this country. Our country cannot live without it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yes. And that's such an important message. And I know all the mama bears that are watching, that will reverberate with them, because that's what we all want. We want the full inclusion of LGBTQ people in every part of their of life. We want them. We want our kids and all LGBTQ people to have rights and protections under the law. And we are working for that every day. And there's been a lot of progress made, but I think what we're seeing, the climate that we're living in, we see how fragile that progress is. And we have to stay alert. We have to stay aware. We have to keep fighting every day to make sure that we don't go backwards and that we can keep moving forward, because there's still a lot of areas where we don't have protection for LGBTQ people. It was so exciting this year when we won the protection for employment.
Yes.
Yes. But, we still have to worry about housing. We have to worry about the military. We have to worry about healthcare. There's still so many areas where we have to worry. And I think, education is so important and inclusion is so important. We need to
And
reach out, make our circles wide, like Ivana said, and include people
and vote.
and vote. Yes.
Here
That's
I
our,
am, a 6'2" African American trans woman. I stood in line for 4 hours to vote.
I'm going to
yay. Good for you.
Day one early vote. Vote. Vote with your conscience. Don't vote just for you. Vote for someone else. I say to people all the time, when I go vote, I don't just vote for what I need. I vote for what other people need too. So I'm
Love
not
that.
going to make a decision that's going to impact somebody else. You know why? Because that's not fair to them. And I hope that they wouldn't vote that way either. And if there are any there are trans parents, mama bears out there, if you have any kids who are turning 18, take them to vote. It is the most amazing, I almost feel like crying. It's the most amazing experience to walk in as a Black trans woman and vote and just live in my truth. And I walked in, I was talking to people, we were talking about stuff, and I just voted, man. And they couldn't say no.
I love
They
it.
could not say I could not vote. And that was so amazing.
I love that. I love it. Yes, we are very conscious politically in our group because politics impacts the LGBTQ community a lot. And that is where we have so much power is at the polls.
Yeah.
We can let our voice be heard. Okay, let's see what other questions are coming up now. One person, Susan Ward, says it was a groundbreaking experience to have so many trans people working in front of and behind the camera. What can we do to let the filmmaking community know we want to see this happen more often?
Well, first of all, you're already doing it by watching the film. You're doing it by reviewing the film. You're doing it by Rotten Tomatoes. You're doing it by sharing the links and letting people know about this film. If you have a lot of energy going to a project like this, the film community then sees, okay, we need to do more projects like this. We need to have more inclusion. You know what I'm saying? If your child, one of the Mama Bear's children, is not an actress, she may be a seamstress. She may be a hairstylist. She may be want to work beside the lights, cameraman. It opens the door for more jobs. I tell people all the time, don't try and be politically correct. Don't try and say, oh, I'm going to do this film because it's a good thing to do. Do it because someone's going to get employed. Hire someone for a job. Like I say all the time, just write me the check. That's all I want. I want the job.
Yep.
I'm not here to all the time to be, I'm not here always all the time to be a symbol. I'm here literally because I need a job.
Mhm.
I got this little light here, took electric bill. I got the computer.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I have a bill to pay. Just run me the check. That's all. Just
Exactly.
hire me because
Right.
I need
I'm
a
so
job.
there for that. I'm there at this point. You know the struggle. The
Yeah.
struggle. Not only to be the struggle in itself of being an actor, an actress, or a writer, or a producer, or anything, but just being especially a Black trans woman or a Latina trans woman trying to make it in this industry, or any industry for that matter, we have to do 10 times as much as the next person to prove our worth, that we're worthy of a job. And that could be working in McDonald's even. You know what I mean? And it's so trite. It's like we're in the 21st century. We still have to shuck and jive, so to speak, in order to just to survive.
Just to get a check.
Yes.
Exactly.
And it's crazy. Like, give us our due process now. We can be members of society. We don't have to hide in the night, come out only at night and do nothing during the day. You know what I mean? I mean, it's time that we expand on like different types of people and, different skin tones and different, I want to see that in film and in television. I want to see the story of the handicapped person. I want to see the story of, like I'm loving that we're starting to see what we really see in the real world can be in film and television.
Yeah.
And I hope we continue to go down that route, and get different types of story. Like I just watched Bad Hair the other day, and I was just like blown away, because it mixed that, African story in there about the Moss girl. Like, we need to hear stories like that. We don't get to hear stories like that. We don't get to hear our American folklore and stories. And it was amazing. So y'all should check it out. Laverne is in it too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we definitely need to check that out.
Heroic.
Okay, let's see. I got a lot of comments, but not a lot of questions. I have a lot of moms coming on saying, I'm in Orlando. Thank you for being here with us. I'm a proud mama bear of an adult trans son.
Can I say
Um,
something? Orlando, hi, how are you? I graduated from UF.
oh, good for you. Small world.
I would, if I could just ask that question for you, Liz.
Yes.
If there's when the questions come and the comments come, if we could possibly tell us where they're from.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
That's
I'll be glad to do that.
Yeah.
If they tell me, they don't always
if they
tell
tell
me.
you. That's what
Yes.
they tell you.
Yeah, it is fun to know where people are watching from. So if you mama bears want to leave a comment where you're watching from, that would be fun. That would be a lot of fun. Let's see.
Orlando has a really good community. They have a whole health center dedicated to trans, and so your child would be very taken care of. The LGBT community has all resources. That's good. There's Jacksonville. I was in Gainesville, but their healthcare was really good because I got it through UF and Shands Hospital. So that's good. So that's why when I know where people are from, I've lived in so many places. It's just exciting if I can give them some resources.
Yes, that is great. And that's very good. I have Kristen and Ivana, have you guys heard of free mom hugs?
I've heard of free moms hugs.
Well, the founder of that organization is also in the Mama Bears group, and she's watching today too. She's from Oklahoma, and I think she's in Wisconsin today with her sister, but she lives in Oklahoma and she's watching.
Milwaukee High School of the Arts. That's where I graduated from.
She lives in Oklahoma City. She lives.
I used to go to Oklahoma City all the time.
Oh, really? Yeah. I go there. I'm about 3 hours from her. So I go there when we're not in a pandemic to visit. And she always takes me to the neighborhood. And
That's where my friend lived, like right around the corner from that what was that area called? But they just did a whole bunch of work over there. It's so beautiful. I love it.
It really is.
Yeah.
The last time I was there, we went to one place in the neighborhood, and the Sisters of Indulgence was there, and they were doing this wonderful fundraiser that night with bingo. It was so fun. We had a great time.
Good. I love spaces like that. I did a doc about a trans club that used to be in New York City. And that's the one thing they asked me. It's like, if you could want anything, what would it be? And I said, I would like comfortable spaces, spaces where I feel protected, spaces where I feel comfortable. So I said, like, if there are any bar or restaurant owners, make a welcoming space for everyone. Because that would be my dream, to be able just to go anywhere and feel comfortable. I don't care about the chairs. I just care that I feel protected. I feel safe, my safe space.
And that's what we as parents want for our kids too. We just want them to be able to go out in the world and feel comfortable. One thing that we do always encourage all parents of LGBTQ kids to do is to be sure and make your home a safe haven.
Yes.
Because we realize that when our kids are out in the world, a lot of times they do have to look over their shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
They do have to be careful about, what they do or what they say or anything. And we don't want them to do that in our homes. We want our homes to be just completely comfortable where they can be themselves.
Yes.
We want the whole world to be like that, but it's not.
Yeah. And also make it comforting. We were talking earlier about privilege, is making it comfortable for other people's kids to feel safe.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
that's important too.
Yeah, I know sometimes during the holidays, it might be a little different this year because of the pandemic, but we do a thing in the Mama Bears to the Rescue where if anybody is able to invite someone to their home, during the holidays who maybe don't have a place to go. And I know I've done that before. And I tell my other guests, listen, if this is going to be a problem for you, then don't come
Yeah.
because these people, I want them to be comfortable, to be themselves. I don't want them to have to check themselves at the door or
Yes.
pretend they're not in a relationship, whatever the situation is.
Yeah.
You just want to make your home a place where it's safe for LGBTQ people to relax and just be themselves.
Yeah. And I think that's so important. I mean,
Yeah.
like more than anything, that's more important. It goes. It goes back to when I was younger. Like even going to the holidays with my family, sometimes there wasn't those safe spaces because we're going to someone else's space. And I remember, oh, you just take your shoes off at the door. I'm like, okay. And they're like, oh, we can give you socks so you can be barefoot. I'm like, I can't. I got a pedicure. I'm thinking like, I can't show that. I'm already hunched over so they won't see the little nubs that are growing. And I'm just like, and it was just so uncomfortable. And I remember just getting back to the hotel with my parents and I was like, oh, I had my hair down. It was so cool because I was there. They made a safe space at the hotel for me so I could just decompress and just just be myself again because I just had to do this whole performance. And I think that's important, especially during the holidays. And when you're talking about Black and brown people and white, their families don't take them. They kick them out and they have nothing. So they don't have that mama bear love. They don't know that. So to be able to have that on holidays and different things and birthdays is really important. Even if you know a trans person is celebrating a birthday, moms go make a big deal about it because they may not have that at home.
Exactly. Kristen, that was an interesting part about the film, in my opinion, is that you guys did have the main character have a supportive home and grandparent because that's who she was. That was her family. Did y'all discuss doing anything different, or was that how you wanted to do it right from the beginning?
That was from the start, having supportive family is very important. I worked in a shelter for over a decade where kids were getting thrown out onto the street for being trans and our shelter was specifically designed for young people that couldn't make it in a regular shelter system in terms of like passability or like they may have been a little bit, you know, the word is flamboyant, but could not hide their true selves.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And we wanted to make sure that there was a safe space specifically for those that couldn't pass off as anything other than being LGBT. And some of the stories that I heard, and sometimes we would even get people like refugees from different countries who were running from persecution and stuff, and it was really intense. And to see and to be a person who had lived that experience of living on the street because of family issues and people not being fully accepting of who you are and the repercussions of that and the mental toll that it takes on a person, so there were lots of
Exactly.
things that we wanted to avoid in the film in terms of some of the realities that trans women of color face on a daily, like a supportive family member. Film is a powerful tool for, invoking emotions and stuff. So it was very important that she had a loving parent or a parental figure that supported her regardless. You know what I mean? It was also a message to other parents, of being supportive of your children. And unfortunately, when we put our kids in these positions, it leads to a fate 10 times worse than anything of transitioning or just being trans, And so it was very important to have a supportive family person.
And just like to say some on a personal note. When you're talking about supportive families, I think sometimes we talk about pronouns and stuff like that, and you notice in the movie she doesn't always use the right pronouns or the right name for her. But like I tell everyone, this is my personal. My father doesn't always use she and her in the
My
house.
grandmother,
Yeah,
everybody.
house. But outside, he respects it outside. But like I told people, I said, I don't care whatever my father decides to call me, as long as he calls me home.
That part.
Yeah. I mean, we do emphasize to the mama bears that if you can use the right pronouns and the right name, because it can be triggering, especially for some young people. You ladies are more mature and older,
Mhm.
and so you have a little more grace and patience. But, sometimes like just a teenager in general is full of anxiety,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
whether they're, trans or gay or straight or whatever. And so for some young people, it can be, just it can just feel overwhelming for them.
Well,
So
it does, and I am thinking about it in retrospect and stuff. And we also, like you said, we're a little bit more mature now. We come from a very different time, but also ensuring that right pronouns used and fighting for those things for a very long time. You know what I mean? I think though, like with family members and getting pronouns and things wrong, especially if it's a grandparent or somebody who's older,
Yeah.
it does, you know what I mean? And sometimes, but the thing that I think is more affirming for me is when, despite the slip up, sometimes they still choose to use your name,
Mm-hmm.
or they may slip up and still end up correcting themselves somewhere down the line. You know what I mean? And leaving that space though, because I mean, when we transition, everybody transitions with us. You know what
exactly.
I mean?
And I think, that's what we have to look at is we can tell when someone's really trying. We
Yes.
can tell what someone's attitude is. I think what hurts young people sometimes is when they feel like their parents are still resisting.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Yeah.
when I say that just like you said, when it's malicious or when it's not personal. But like, my dad is of a certain, he's in his 70s and he's always like, my man, you know what I mean? But he's like my man, and then he gives me this huge bear hug and he's pinching us. You're still my baby. I don't care how old you get, So you kind of have it's like,
Exactly.
Well,
because
I mean,
he's out of love. It's like, yeah, that's my man.
the wonderful thing about
Like, you could have gone to the Olympics, and he gives me hugs and kisses, and I'm just like, wow, I'm so conflicted, but at the same time, I know I'm loved.
the wonderful thing I've learned to do is this, though. I live in New York City, and even if they're trans or not, the funny thing about New York is even the girls here in New York, from me growing up, have always been kind of non-binary. They say certain things that guys say anyway, like calling each other bro or something like that, to that effect. So sometimes you can flip it and make it empowering. You know what I mean? Like, even though you're a girl, you could be like, that's my bro right there. Or,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Just to, I like shedding of the labels of what is of the binaries. You know what I mean? Where I see girls that are not even LGBT referring to each other as bro or something to that effect. So I think, when we use inclusive language and stuff, or when girls call each other guys, you know what I mean? We have to start expanding on the language and stuff, and what is malicious and what is, and I'm coming at that place because, before I like, don't you call me that, or don't, you know what I mean? But like, I get it. And so, and just keeping that in mind, and being an empowered woman, that, people that are not even in the LGBT community are using non-binary language.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So.
And I think, as we, as LGBT people, find community, feel support, get empowered, then these less than perfect interactions are easier to withstand and they don't feel so devastating.
Well, they don't feel like microaggression.
Yes.
They're lighter because, like, even still, and I know she and I are going to be on the same page. When you call for service on the phone, or I call my bank, or I call this and that. They're like, sir, how can I help you? I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I just say, no, it's ma'am. They're like, oh, I'm sorry. Because I realize it's not malicious. It's not like a microaggression. But then there's sometimes when you know it's a microaggression. But sometimes I just have to forgive people because I know that they're not trying to be mean. But I also know that if I take it so harshly, I'm actually triggering myself.
Yeah.
And I have to realize that my strength is me being myself. And I have to say, okay, that wasn't done on purpose.
And that one misgender is not going to define your whole existence.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So
especially when it comes from love.
Exactly. Hey, Kristen, you said you're in New York. I have one mom here. Jennifer says, we live in New York and we do worry about our child. My 21-year-old is a music industry major and wants to work for a trans label or company. It's so important to them. Do you guys know of any trans labels in the music industry?
Actually, you can check out, okay, so there's a few people coming up in music now. You know, there's Shaquasia Diamond, who's on the soundtrack. A couple of few others within the film are also in film. There's a music production company coming up to support is the Transgenders. And they're always looking to collaborate with other trans artists and stuff. They're a welcoming and, you know, affirming environment for any upcoming trans musician, and they could definitely, like, they just released a song, you know, they do rap and R&B and stuff. But I'm sure that.
What was the name of it again? I kind of missed that.
Transgenders.
Transgenders.
No, Trenders.
Trenders. Oh, that's cute. I love that.
Yeah. Okay. And so they just got, you know, some press. They released a song that was in Times Square or whatever. Like I said, they deal heavily in like rap and R&B, but they're getting their music video production game up. And there's another place in Florida actually that I like to support, and that is the House of Stars. They're a good music production company that deals with trans and LGBT specific music. So you should definitely check them out. And they're also looking for new talent and people that are, you know, trying to get into the music industry. So look them up as well.
Is Man-Made still going on in Brooklyn? Man-Made Productions, they had the rap artist and they did like their fashion show.
Oh, I don't know.
Okay, that's one too. What part of New York are they from?
They didn't say. Okay. We do have somebody from Oshkosh watching, and we have somebody from Sydney, Australia watching today.
Oh wow!
Oshkosh Bagosh, I wore those.
Is that Oklahoma?
Huh?
Where's Oshkosh?
Wisconsin. That's where Oshkosh Bagosh jeans come from. I had the blue jean overalls when I was young.
We got Greenville, North Carolina being represented.
Yay!
Okay. North Carolina.
Wow.
Lincoln, Nebraska.
Wow. I've been to Lincoln. Oh, work.
Nashville, Tennessee.
Huh?
Been to Nashville. Briefly.
Nashville's good too.
Ohio.
My dad's from Akron.
Oh yeah. Is that in Northeast Ohio?
It is. It's right on top of Pittsburgh.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Let's see. We've got Greenville, South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
South Carolina.
Chicago.
My family's from Pageland. Chicago.
I was born in Cook County Hospital.
Maryland.
Yes, there's lots
Maryland.
of resources in Chicago and Maryland. They're there. Just look for them. Ohio has a lot of resources, but you have to go to like the bigger cities, like Cincinnati and Cleveland. There's a lot of resources. They don't do a lot of youth stuff now, but they're working on it. But I know that Chicago does. I knew that Indiana does a lot of youth stuff. I say youth stuff. I always like to advocate that just because you're starting young and being around other youth. You know what I mean? Like in New York City, if they come down to Cal and Lord, they can go to health outreach to teens, and it deals with young teenagers. Some of them are homeless, some of them aren't, but it deals with any kind of their health care, whether it's regular health care or trans health care, but they're all teenagers hanging out together from the LGBT community, and they have events.
That's wonderful when there's a center like that for them to get together. I
Yeah.
think that just, over and over, I hear from moms saying, their kids just want to find a way to connect with peers,
Yeah.
that they can just hang out with and have fun with and just relax. That's what kids want to do.
Yeah, I had that in New York growing up. It was a place in Westchester called Center Lane, and it was just so amazing. That is like, yeah.
I did the gay, well, back then it was gay and lesbian group at the library in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And we used to hide behind the stacks before the meeting to see who was going to come in, who wasn't, just so that was our group. But there's more community. I think that if they could create their own little groups and go on like have play dates or movie dates, where they get together and just be themselves. Maybe the parents sit behind them, or go to get ice cream with some, just the little things that you want to do as a kid that I really wish I could have done as myself when I was a kid, a teenager.
Yeah. Even adults need that kind of interaction though. I would think I was telling Kristen when we were on the phone, that we have a group of moms who belong to something called Mama Bears to the Rescue. And what we do is we make ourselves available to youth or adults, but honestly, mostly it's adults that contact us to, go to coffee or get an ice cream or talk on the phone. We just want to be a loving presence in the life of any LGBTQ person who feels like they need support or encouragement, because it just takes a few people in your life to make a difference.
It does. And what I would like to say is for that group, and that's an amazing what you guys are doing. But yeah, that's like needed. But do you guys go to graduation?
Yes, we go to graduations. We stand in at weddings. We make ourselves available for, those kind of things. And the good thing, Ivana, is we have moms all over the country.
Perfect.
So chances are there's going to be a mama bear near you.
Yeah. And can I just say something? And one thing I had when I went to Gainesville, Florida, for the University of Florida to go to college, my grandmother lived 45 minutes away, but she was very ill, so I couldn't hang out with her a lot. And it was really nice to find moms such as yourself that were in Gainesville that would cook for me and like let me hang out, and their kids were gay, and I was in college. I wasn't out in college, I was just a girl. But I just say that it's nice to know that you guys are around in different parts of the country, because there's a lot of us who travel or live or have to move for work or business or school or changing, our parents have different jobs. And it's just nice to know that there's moms around to be moms when we really need them.
Yeah, one of the most fun things that oh wait, here comes Kristen back. Hold on a minute. Hey, Kristen, sorry we lost you for a minute.
Hello?
Yes. Sorry we lost you.
No.
That's okay. We didn't go too far off the track. We were just talking about Mama Bears to the Rescue. And I was just getting ready to tell Ivana, and I don't think I told you about this either, Kristen. One of the best Mama Bear to the Rescue experiences that we had was we had somebody contact us, a young trans teen had been elected as a queen for their homecoming. But there was a lot of backlash that went on in the high school. Yeah. And the family was really worried about it. And so the moms in that area and some of them drove a couple of hours even. There were 5 or 6 or 7 of them, I can't remember now. They all went, and they helped get the young trans teen a beautiful dress. And they helped her get ready that day with her mom, and they all went to the homecoming. And it just was really a great experience for the mama bears. And it really made the family feel so much better just to have that kind of support. So it's really, it's an honor when we get to do something like that. It really is.
That is so amazing.
I want to be homecoming queen.
Yeah. Diane from Greenville, North Carolina wants to know, what do you think is the best thing we can do for trans folks when they're coming out?
Like coming out, meaning they're coming out as trans?
Yes, they're coming out as trans. They're, because we do hear from a lot of people who are just now maybe accepting themselves or ready to tell people that they are trans.
What I will say is this, is that it has to be a layered approach. You have to let them do it at their time, because I didn't come out as trans. I came out as gay first and then became trans because I thought trans was gay. And I knew that my parents would probably accept gay before they accept trans. So sometimes you have to let them have their journey and have their conversation, because you may have a child that says I'm gay and then they end up being trans. It's their own steps. So I think the best thing I could say is just let your child develop.
Let them take the lead.
Yes.
Right. It's a process in itself. You know what I mean? I think like when I have conversations with my mother and she tells me, she was like, I remember when you were younger and I would ask you if you were gay and you would always tell me no. Right. And now I understand that it was something else. Yeah. And I was like, you're right. I didn't want to associate with being gay. But, yes. And during that time, I did feel and didn't know how to tell you that I was a girl. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I think and then when I got older and had the ability to transition, it was something, it was so empowering for me to transition in itself that I was just like, bam, I'm here and I'm a girl. And, and everybody's like, what the,
Yeah. And you know what?
But it was like, you had to remind them that I'm still the same person regardless, just because I, developed and, I'm still the same person. It was just, I was a kid, you know what I mean? And it was just like, I guess but realizing that is the process, because when we transition, a little startling for some people, you know what I mean? So it's a process that, when a person comes into themselves and accepting them for who they are, regardless.
And I really like to tell people this, it is a journey. So the minute a person decides that they're going to be trans, they literally are in kindergarten, grade school. Everything is, they want to try all the little girly things or all the little boy stuff. They want to play this. And then they develop into middle school, then high school, then college. They have to go through that whole progression wherever they are in your life. Like, people gave a lot of pushback on Caitlyn Jenner when she came out because she was talking about her closet and all this, but they didn't realize she was in grade school and high school. She was just coming into who she was as a girl. Now she's developing into her later high school and college and her master's degree to become. That's why Chad Bono disappeared, because he had to go through all those stages before he could be the man that he was going to be. And so wherever you are in your transition, whether you're 6 years old or 60, you have to go through these steps. And mama bears are perfect for that, because you know how to raise kids through every stage of their life, which is what you have to do with trans children.
Exactly.
Well, that makes sense.
When I started transitioning and stuff, it was like I was about 17, 18 years old and stuff. And so it was like that second puberty. Yeah. You know what I mean? It was just like, And so, of course, you have to grow into yourself. And that's why I never rushed my transition. I think in the time when I was coming up, it was about who's going to be the prettiest, the fastest, and all this other stuff. And I was the ugly duckling and I looked crazy. You know what I mean? But I was never one to rush in my transition in terms of this is who I am, and this is who I'm going to be for the rest of my life. There's no need to rush. So also take your time, explore, figure out what's best for you, not trying to rush and please somebody else or whatever. Like, it's a process within you. You know what I mean?
My favorite color now is not the favorite color I had back then.
Right.
Right.
I have grown into this new color, you know? And so it used to be red. Now I love purple. Like, I think purple is so beautiful. But my former self, it was red. I thought that was, you know, sexy and glamorous. Now I'm not that person. I tell people, take your time, take your time. Like, all these surgeries and all this transformation and transitioning is free now, and it's going on healthcare. And I feel like they're being pushed too quickly. Let them, because if I get we're on your mom, so you understand body parts. If I get a 38 double D and I'm like 19 years old, I'm doing that because I'm in high school and I want to, you know what I mean? I want the lips, but then I turn around 20 years later, I'm like, holy crap, maybe I should have done that. But if you let them develop themselves, you don't know. We know that even when you're transgender, you're not sexually who you're supposed to be. I know trans women who are butch, masculine dressing, and lesbians. Like, right. But she had to go through that process to figure that out. The first step is, this is who I am. And then it's the journey.
Exactly. It's so important. You know, I've had this conversation, you know, like, and I thought about it, and I, you know, like, you know, when it comes down to surgery, and I'm not knocking anybody who needs surgery or whatever, but it doesn't define who you are inside either. It's like that Beyonce song, Pretty Hurts, okay? You know, it's the soul that needs a surgery. You have to figure out what's in here first before you can get anything else done. And then when you may find that you're just comfortable being how you are and you don't need that work done. You don't need plastic surgery. Like my nose is too big. Should I get a nose job? And then I'm like, no, my nose can define me. My nose can be my signature. You know what I mean? It defines who I am. Or should I get breast implants and being content in my body? And, you know, it's all about that learning to be comfortable and loving yourself, you know, and the surgery is not going to do that. You know what I mean? Because you can get whatever surgeries in the world and still be unhappy. You know, learning, it's about learning to love yourself and accepting yourself for who you are and what you are. You know what I mean? And don't rush anything to make somebody else happy. Do everything for you.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I think we got time for a couple of more questions. One, Julie wants to know, do you have any transgender idols?
Trans idols? Of course we do. I think growing up, one of my trans idols, and you know, which inspired me to want to be an actress, you know, as a trans actress, you know, like to see a trans person in film, and that would be Lady Chablis, you know, and the Garden of Midnight and Good and Evil. And there were shows that came out like when I was growing up and stuff that were like, you know, oh my God, you know, I can do that. I think currently, you know, because they paved the way for us, she, you know, has pushed the dial and she kept going. And it's about that, you know, keep going. Laverne has turned it. You know what I mean? She has paved the way for, you know, us to get to the next level. And I really, really appreciate that. You know what I mean? And but yeah, there are some like I discovered Miss Shane, Jackie Shane, who is a singer, a soul singer, just phenomenal, amazing. It makes me feel a sense of history that even back then we were in the arts and making music, and all the unsung ones that we would never know of. You know what I mean? They're all empowering and helped pave the way for us to come up and be who we are today.
Love that.
Yeah, mine is Georgia Black. I actually want to try and write a script about it, but Georgia Black was she was not a slave, um, but she worked in the house, and this young man helped her to transition, and she became a maid in a house on a plantation. She grew up, and then they moved to Florida, Sanford, Florida, where she opened businesses and became a pillar of the community, was in the church. And when she died, um, she was so well known that boxers and everything had the stadium to have her funeral. And Jet Magazine, I believe it was, came in and did an article about her, and they divulged the autopsy and said that she was trans. And the town and the mayor made them retract it and said, no, she's not. She is Georgia Black. And she was so well known and a pillar of the community, married, raised the man who she married, raised his sons and everything. And to me, she's an idol to me because she was just an ordinary woman living an ordinary life. And I don't think that I want trans people to know that they don't have to be exceptional, that average is just as good. Just being yourself is an exceptional.
Yes. Yes. Being yourself, being your true self, that's the exceptional thing.
Because my phrase is always this: your average is someone else's exceptional.
Yeah, that's true. I wanted to talk a little bit before we let y'all go about the ending. The ending is hard, for a lot of people to watch. I'd just like for you guys to reflect a little bit on, was there ever any question about how you were going to end it? What made you go with this ending? What were your reactions to it when you read the script and knew about it? Just let's talk about that a little bit, because I think it's a conversation that the people who watch this film want to have.
Mm-hmm. I want to touch on that. When I was doing trans in media, right, and I was going to different schools and having the conversation about the violence that media was perpetuating at the time, I think we have been conditioned to have this disdain for trans people, and that conditioning, like through shows like Maury and Jerry Springer and such, mm-hmm. that it teaches a level of hate, or that because they're trans they're wrong, or I would say incite riotous behavior in terms of jumping up and screaming "it's a man," and then do that in real life to a trans person. It's horrible. You know what I mean? And I think when I did it and showed the juxtapose between the TV shows and the messages we were getting, and the news channels when they were reporting trans murders, as if always it was the trans woman's fault, she was killed, or finding, if you look down social media feeds, there's always an excuse as to why the trans woman was murdered. Yeah. Right. And so when I read the script, and I knew it was important, as terrible as it is, that it has to be shown, because film is a medium to relay emotions. Right. And when you see a headline and you see the social media feeds and they're talking their talk as to why this trans person was murdered and why it's making news, they don't really care. I think, in film, you have a tendency to care about a character. And Tina, just looking at Carlie, I wish she was, on right now. And you look into her eyes and you see the beauty of her humanity. You know what I mean? And that she was a living, breathing person. You know what I mean? And then to have her so violently taken away from us. You know what I mean? It had to be shown in order for people to care. And I thought about it, I processed it 1,000 times. Could we have changed the ending, or should we have done something else with the ending? And I think about Boys Don't Cry, you know what I mean? And in itself, you know what I mean? And I think like it was important. It had to be done in order for people to even care that Tina, our beloved Tina, was just taken from us in such a brutal manner. And unfortunately, it's the real life right now. Like every year, the number of trans murders goes up every year. And it's ridiculous. And it's all based off of stigmatization and hate and misunderstanding of, you know, of a person's entire, like, as if this person is not worthy of life. And it's so disheartening. So if it upset people, good. I'm glad it upset you, because it upsets us every day when we see this. Just last week alone, you know what I mean? And the numbers keep rising every 2 weeks. This is an epidemic in itself in our country and elsewhere across the world. You know what I mean? It's something that needs to be addressed. And unfortunately, it was depicted, you know what I mean? But out of the many festivals that we've been into, the conversations that sparked up one time, you know, going back to when Ivana was talking about the festivals, I had a similar situation of a trans woman who was like, you know, before they transitioned, that they were transphobic.
Wow.
And, you know, would, you know, harass and beat up trans people, you know? So it's even, sometimes it's even something that's within, you know, somebody's and somebody's self, you know, and people want to always hurt things that they don't understand, you know? And
internalized transphobia
Mhm.
is a very real thing.
Yeah.
And it sometimes the people that have internalized transphobia are some of the biggest threats.
Right. And then even with our partners and people who choose to love us, it becomes an issue. Why? Because then they become, it's not about them being confused about who they are. It's not about us being confused about who we are, what we want in life. It's about society's refusal to accept us for being who we are and showing and projecting that. You know what I mean? And it hurts so many people to stay in this place of prejudice, to, you know, that we shouldn't exist, or trying to hold us back, and, you know, and everything. It doesn't benefit anybody. It just causes just destruction.
And it's almost like they think we're like an anomaly. But the Samoans have trans people that tell their history. The Native Americans had trans people. The Africans had trans people. The Asians had trans people. We've been here for generations. It's just this past 200 years doesn't make any sense. If you look at Gangs of America, they even have, oh, look at that corner word, those are the trans prostitutes. They talk about it in history. Where it's come in the past 100 and 200 years, I don't understand, because we've always been here. Just for all of a sudden now all of a sudden we're not supposed to exist, that doesn't make any sense to me. And so when I say how the ending was, is the ending was appropriate, but we fought very hard for that ending to be as consciously responsible as it needed to be. Meaning, when the scene was written, the incident happened, he attacked her, she's dead, she's there. We said, no, you can't just discard her. So that's the part where you see where he picks her back up, because we said, we are tired of being discarded. This moment, we need you to feel what we've always felt, to feel the trauma and terror that I feel, but then realize, oh my God, what did I just do?
It ruins lives. You see, Chris' life was ruined and Tina was lost. Like, what is the point of teaching somebody to hate a trans person so much that they have to snuff the life out of them? It doesn't it's not beneficial to anybody.
And the best thing about this film is that because that moment comes, and because you're so invested in the character and the person in Tina, and you're so invested in her friends, what you're left with at the end, which everyone misses, is now you are responsible for the rest of them. Because if you saw and you felt what you just saw and felt, now you cannot say you did not know it's happening.
Yes.
You are now responsible. I live in Harlem. I walk to the A train to go to the train. Every day I walk in the train, I walk on the corner, literally down the corner from my apartment to the spot where Elian Nettles was killed. I have to go through that every single day. If I have to go through that, you can go through this for 80 minutes.
No, I agree. These are things that it's the reality.
Yeah.
We have to talk about them. We have to get emotionally connected to them, and we have to change. the
And
way the world is.
remember the conversation we had before we came on the air. Just like you teach your kids that they're not to talk to strangers, don't get into a stranger's car, you don't talk back to parents, these people are bad, these people are good. Also, if you're trans, specifically if you're a trans person of color, you have to be careful. Yeah. This is what this lesson's supposed to be. Terrible that we have to teach these lessons, but we do. It's the reason why parents take the Halloween candy home. Why? Because in the 80s, they were putting razor and cyanide. Well, these are just lessons that you have to teach your children. Do we want them to happen? No, but it's happening and we have to be educated.
Well, ladies, it has been wonderful to be with you. I'm so disappointed that Carlie's internet was giving her trouble. That happens to all of us at one time or another. Please give her our love and let her know how much we loved her performance. We thought she was fantastic. She made us care about the character. We loved what you did in the film, Ivana. You were amazing. And it's so great to get to know you personally. And Kristen, it's just been such an honor to connect with you. We loved you in the film. And we know that you did so much work on this film, and we're so grateful for it. And we're grateful for the activism work that you do too for trans people. Is there anything you guys want to say to the Mama Bears before we sign off today?
Thank you. Thank you for having us. Thank you for supporting our film and watching it. We love you.
Now, how can they watch it if they haven't seen it so far?
Right now, I discovered it's on YouTube too. It's on YouTube. You can watch it on YouTube, Amazon. There's
Prime and Google Play.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's everywhere. It's everywhere.
Okay, well, I'm going to make sure I post this in the group because a lot of people are watching today that didn't have a chance to watch the film yet. Ooh. So they'll want to know how to go and find it. So I'll make sure. What do you want to say, Ivana?
Oh, I was going to say, oops, we just told me ending. I just want to say that you guys, Mama Bears, you have a new little daughter over here. I love what you guys are doing. I love that you are being bearish about your children. I think that you have to fight for your children, and that really, really is amazing. But I also love that you also realize that you're fighting for other people's children. So that's why it was so important for me to come here, because you're aggressive bears to your little cubs, but you're also taking care of other people's cubs. And I think that's amazing. Not saying that those families and those mothers are lacking anything. They just didn't know how to love the way you guys know how to love.
Well, thank you very much. Well, thank y'all so much. I hope this isn't the last time that we get together. Good luck with everything that you do. And I'll be sure and stay in touch.
Yes, thank you. Ivana, I'm going to call you.
Yes, call me.
All right. Good night.
Good night.